you now arrive at the situation where there is so much volatility and a group of people who have an answer and a solution. It's not the right solution. It's that is so crazy. Interesting. It's actually good that the abundance movement is finally being very honest that it sees unions and workers as the villains, says Josh Barrow. There's no pretense anymore. The mask is falling off. They're now screaming about their motives, so at least there's no deception, which is good.
Fans here today. When I look at policies in New York that stand in the way of abundance, very often if you look under the hood, you eventually find a labor union at the end that is the driver of that. I mean, to take some examples, it is illegal to build a new hotel in New York anywhere in the city without special permission from the City Planning Commission. This is a law that was lobbied for by the Hotel Workers Union and has had the intended effect of shielding existing hotels from competition, driving up hotel rates. The city's also basically banned Airbnb.
It's great, man. I love living in a country where both options are right-wing. It's so sick. I love it. I love it. It's so awesome. Do you want gay fascism? Do you want homo-fascism? Or do you want homophobic fascism? Those are your two options, okay? Which one do you want? Homo-fascism or homophobic fascism? Because there's no other option. There's no anti-fascist option, okay? Which one do you want? Do you want the smug, smarmy, entitled, technocratic approach to homo-fascism? Or do you want the schizophrenic, insanely violent version that is also still very smug, mind you, and is in a state of permanent fucking victimhood? Which version of fascism would you like? Both are going to kill you. I said homo-fascism. I didn't say homo-trans fascism. Both of the fascist movements will kill trans people. Okay? Make no mistake. They've both written out trans people as like permanent enemies of empire. An example of wins above replacement war. The base will vote for you anyway, says LX Eagle 17, Lakshya Jain. Don't worry about liberal defections. So the lesson of the Harris campaign was that the Democrats should do more events with Liz Cheney. Abundance is a new revolutionary approach to centrism. It's not fascism. Dog. Centrism inevitably yields fascism, especially because it refuses to address the material harms that cause people to become reactionary. So it basically is the softer, gayer version of fascism. It's the precursor to fascism, both historically and in contemporary society. It's happening in front of your fucking eyes. You are watching a fascist administration currently work its way through the steps of consolidating power at the top, while simultaneously undermining what remains of American civil liberties. The marginal civil liberties that remain, they're taking those away. And what are the Democrats doing in the process? Talking about how actually it's the people that want the Democrats to do more to combat this wave of fascism that are actually wrong. We should become more fascist and people should vote for us anyway. Because when given the option between homo-fascism and homophobic fascism, I'm sure people will choose homo-fascism. It's marginally better, after all. That's what I mean. What about building coalitions to win over the working class? Fuck no! How dare you? What kind of right-wing nonsense is this? Don't you know that the working class is a reactionary dog whistle? Excuse me. The working class are evil. They're evil monsters. They want healthcare and stuff, and I hate that. It's bad. I will ban you. I would rather sell off this country to Kroger's, Goldman Sachs, Amazon, okay, that becomes this unique merged blob of evil than to allow you to get free healthcare. I would rather stop that every step of the way. I will use all of my existing brain power to ensure that I stand in opposition to things such as free healthcare, free college, things that improve people's lives, things that actually offer people an opportunity for prosperity, an opportunity for social advancement. The markets will be unleashed, whether you like it or not. The freer the markets, the freer the people. Markets cannot fail. They can only be failed, okay? Neoliberalism, real neoliberalism has not been tried yet, Okay? Real neoliberalism has never been tried. Real neoliberalism is the way. Real neoliberalism is the method. I worship the altar of markets. I worship the market gods. Do you understand? Make no mistake. The freer the markets, the freer the people. Remember this, chat. Real free markets have not been tried. Real free marketeering and profiteering will actually save us. The market will solve this problem. Oh, climate change? The market will solve this problem. Racism? The market will solve this problem. Homophobia? The markets will solve this problem. God, it's so simple. What don't you understand? Free healthcare? Puh, no, that's communism. The markets will solve the problem. Do you like that? This is my new pitch. As my new pitch is a totally new and unique thing that I just invented. No one has ever thought of this before. No one. The markets cannot fail. They can only be failed by us, mere peasants who don't understand. This is zealotry. Okay? That's all this is. It's zealotry through and through. Make no mistake, there is no difference. There is no difference between this and religious zealots. They can try and act as though what they are saying is the norm and that you have pie in the sky ideas. You're an idealist. You're a purist. Why make perfect the enemy of good? They'll say all of these things. Meanwhile, what they're trying to advance, the cause that they're trying to advance is not only unpopular, not only unjust, but also way more ridiculous than having an expansive social safety net that exists in virtually every other comparable OECD nation. As a matter of fact, it even exists in fucking underdeveloped and undeveloped nations. But in America, God forbid, we can't have that. Because after all, we got to worry about the fucking GDP. Well, that's right. We must continue to understand how best to regulate the markets. It's mathematically proven that markets allocate resources to the most competent people, to each by their ability. We just need to work on regulation so that the wealthy stop exploiting the government only their advantage. The government must remain unbiased for the good of all. What are you saying? I can't tell if you're fucking memeing alongside me or if you're like a genuine believer. What the fuck? You unironically are repeating the thing that I just said sarcastically, but now you're saying it without sarcasm. Like, it feels like you're saying this sincerely. I hope you're joking, and I hope you're not being sincere. The Nordic model is not fascism. Abundance is a new revolutionary approach to centrism. It's not fascism. Let's be honest, you got cooked on this one. Admit defeat and play the original. It's not about the visuals, it's about the soul of the game. Oh, he's also a MGS1 defender. You went too hard. You attacked the real capital fanboys. He's a lib and believes in the invisible hand of the market. Okay. But even fucking Adam Smith himself recognized that there was an end to that. You know what I mean? There's an end point. There's a point of unsustainable. There's a point where the market fundamentals are inevitably going to erode people's existence, people's liberties, people's livelihoods. And it's just weird because for some indecipherable reason, okay, for the record, one, abundance is not the Nordic model, okay? That's number one. Abundance is, like you said initially, a revolutionary approach to centrism, which paves the road to fascism. And the idea that the Nordic model is the end all be all and there is no evolution beyond the Nordic model is so fucking stupid. Listen, at this point, if you guys were at least China dick riders, I would be a little bit more understanding. Okay? The Nordic model is not strong. The Nordic model is very weak. Look at the Nordic nations right now. Look at the Nordic nations right now. They are going through that exact same erosion of social safety nets in the welfare state that we never really fully had in comparison to the Nordic model, but in a comparable way relative to their previous standing. They're exhibiting the same exact fucking austerity issues right now. Finland is a great example of this. Finland's educational outcomes are being eroded. The Finnish right-wing coalition has advocated to unironically cut funding to public broadcasters. And now they're a part of NATO because of their understandable fear of Russian incursion. They joined NATO, and now their politicians are excited, salivating at the prospect of building a robust military force, which they already had a more competent military force due to, again, their proximity to Russia and the fact that there's conscription. But now, on top of that, they're excited to spend 5% of their fucking GDP on American weapons. So where does that money come from? What does that do to the living standards of the average Finnish person? And as they recognize that their living standards are getting worse, who do they blame for that? Oh, that's right. Refugees, brown people, Muslims. That's who they fucking blame for that. Because that anger and resentment will manifest, and the people in that process, right-wing, reactionary, fascist dipshits in that process, will very quickly work to manipulate public consciousness and change the resentment that people might have towards their politicians for selling out the goddamn country, or owners of capital who have dominated their fucking lives and demand more from them year in, day out. You now arrive at the situation where there is so much volatility and a group of people who have an answer and a solution. It's not the right solution. It's probably the final solution, as a matter of fact. But there you have another road paved towards fascism under the banner of Western liberal democracy. Fantastic. No turning back from this. It's awesome. Very excited to see the abundance model work in America, except it won't, because Americans have already fucking lost faith in the political process to begin with. Yeah, we should try to figure out how to regulate the markets, except what? 50 years of market regulation, and look at Europe. The only time where they actually had an active counterbalance towards growing capitalist sentiment in these countries in the post-World War II economies was when USSR was right there in their fucking ass cheeks, seen as liberators initially, and presenting an alternative model. That is how so many of these countries were able to move in the direction of expansive welfare states and social safety nets. Once the USSR was over, once that project was done and it was completely fucking destroyed due to the endless greed and due to the unlimited success of capital owners, we arrived at late stage capitalism, the neoliberal era. No more no more alternative solutions, no more dreams of any sort of shifting the fucking dial of time in the appropriate direction of socialism. Maximum capitalism, maximum greed, maximum profiteering. And look what happened in that process. The Western liberal capitalist countries are basically victims of their own success. They so thoroughly dismantled socialist movements, revolutionary socialist movements, revolutionary communist movements. They so thoroughly dismantled the alternative that the mean shifted firmly into the right. And in the process, you got endless amounts of greedy capital owners and profiteers ruining the living standards of the fucking working class. There was always a limit to social democracies. And I'm not even specifically talking about the limits that exist as far as like social democracies relying on unequal exchange, whether it be the beautiful mixed market economy or the beautiful social democracy of France that relies heavily on neo-imperialism and commanding the currencies of many fucking Western African nations, or whether it be the fact that the entire global economy relies on the unequal exchange from the global south, whether it be the extraction of rare earth minerals that are necessary for new technology, or the extraction of labor power at an incredibly cheap price as a direct consequence of endless amounts of imperialism. That has negative consequences everywhere. That has negative consequences internally in the labor aristocracy as well, because the labor aristocracy can't outcompete the incredible price points of manufacturing in the global south, in countries that have been previously dominated. But holy shit, God forbid those countries that we've dominated have actually enabled themselves, have actually developed themselves evenly and become market competitors. Now we're scared, which is why we will turn around and rely on American empire to once again do what must be done, be ruthless, be cruel. And in the process of fascism manifests in all of these Western liberal capitalist nations, well, it's all right. At least we're not fucking Chinese. That's where you're at right now. Talking to me about the motherfucking Nordic model when every single goddamn Nordic nation is alarmingly moving in the direction of Nazi politics. Actually, I would worry about how China will fare when Xi is no longer the leader. If there's not another strong leader, they may face the same erosion by markets. Okay, you can't do that. You can't, on the one hand, say that like Xi Jinping has done a tremendous job at fighting back against the interests of capital and has actually continued the project of even development and actually handled the corruption, and in China it would be the interests of capital, and say that that is actually a fucking fantastic model while simultaneously turning around and being like, well, Nordic democracies are great. Wrong. I see us in Norway hugging it out with Xi before Trump, the way things are going. We have issues with CCP, not China, and big issues with the Orange Menace. You have issues with the CCP. What does that even mean? CCP is China, and China is CCP. Listen. The Communist Party of China, okay? The Communist Party of China is modern China. That's number one. Number two, the Communist Party of China is immensely popular in China. That's it. The idea that it is not an immensely popular force of politics is wrong. And that is not my estimation. That's not dick riding China. That's Harvard's own polling, where they go to China and they ask people and they try to fucking get like, they try to fucking find out like why Chinese people seemingly love their fucking politicians, why the Chinese population loves their party. Why is that the reason? Well, there's a very easy answer for it, okay? It's not because they're like actively suppressing any sort of speech or actively suppressing any sort of like political dissidence. I mean, that does happen, but that's not the reason why there's so much fucking popularity that the Communist Party of China enjoys. No, it's not because they'll be killed if they say no. Shut the fuck up. No, that's not the reason at all. Get the fuck out of here. They're literally in places like China. If you rock the boat, you get a rebellion, okay? Where people know that they're being dominated. When people know that they're being dominated, when people know that there's a tremendous amount of authority and control, the moment that you fucking actually do not abide by the wishes of the population, that moment is when you get destroyed. That moment is when you get fucking a rebellion, okay? Now, let me answer why people actually think the party performance is good. Well, it's pretty simple. It's because if you are 40 years old, living in China, over the course of the past 4 decades, you saw China make tremendous fucking gains. You saw cities that were being built that had no population in them whatsoever turn into cosmopolitan beacons of the fucking planet. And that happened over the course of a tiny amount of time, like relative to advancements being made in the West. If you're a 40-year-old, you saw your country become an immense power. Why wouldn't you be happy? Why would you not be happy? Of course you're going to be happy. Are there issues with civil liberties, not being able to say whatever the fuck you want to say? Sure. And I'm sure that's a major problem. At least according to the Chinese people I talk to, while they have tremendous pride in their nation and their national standing now as opposed to where it was fucking 40 years ago, okay? There are still issues, just like there are issues here in the United States of America. Okay? But it's ridiculous to refuse to reckon with why China is such a powerful force on the planet, and it's ridiculous to refuse to reckon with why China is has a popular form of governance. And no, it is not because they are so domineering and so scared, although the Chinese government is scared of disruptions, political dissidents, and whatnot, and does have a heavy hand. But that's not the reason why people are happy. The reason why people are happy is because of the economic improvements that they've experienced. And if you were to compare this, will you simp for Japan? I simp for the Nordics? No, there's a major difference here. I don't actually simp for Japan. I like the cultural output, but I actually criticize Japanese society and Japanese living standards quite frequently. You just don't hear it. You only hear me talk about anime Pog. And also, a comparison between the DPRK and China is so fucking ridiculous because the DPRK is shut out from the rest of the goddamn planet. What the fuck are you talking about? You think China and DPRK are comparable in any way, shape, or form? And even a better comparison would be like Saudi Arabia doesn't have a rebellion as opposed to China. Even then, that would be a better comparison. Okay? Like you're talking about a global participant in international trade that is perhaps one of the most, that is the most important global participant in international trade, as opposed to the DPRK, which is what economic output is cryptocurrency schemes, and their entry point into the world is maybe some Chinese commerce on the side. Ridiculous. All of this still fails. China is semi-shut off. In theory, they will be able to do it if they need be. No, it's not. China is not semi-shut off. What are you saying? China is not even remotely semi-shut off. It's not shut off at all. Can you fucking fly with ease to North Korea? No. Can you fly with ease to China? Yes. Can a Chinese citizen fly with ease to any country it wants to as long as that country is willing to give them a visa? Yes. Can a North Korean do the same? No. How is this even remotely fucking comparable? What are you saying? This is the edge of liberalism, okay? This is when liberalism fails. When an alternative mode of economic output exists out there and it is actually doing gangbusters, okay? And it's actually immensely successful. Liberals go, how could this be? It must be that there is something afoot. Maybe it's the Chinese culture. Maybe the Chinese are servile people and they respond to authority differently. It's got to be some other fucking spiritual, idealistic reason. They don't use worldwide social networks, only their own versions and only their own content. Yeah. Do you fucking blame them? Have you seen Twitter? Have you seen Facebook? I don't fucking blame them at all. And having said that, the notion that that is the reason why they're shut off from the rest of the world is so stupid. Oh, yeah, dude. If only China saw a couple fucking brain rot TikToks, they would turn into what? Stupid American pigs? Is that what you want? You also make it seem as though Chinese people can't like go on these websites, or Americans can't go on these Chinese websites. They certainly can. War refugee turned Nobel Prize winning scientist in the U.S. posts about Trump administration cuts to funding for his biomedical research. Within hours, he gets an email from China offering to move his lab to any Chinese city with a guaranteed funding for 20 years. Artem Pataputian's story is not just for the American dream, it's the American science. He arrived in Los Angeles in 1986 at the age of 18 after fleeing war-torn Lebanon. He spent a year writing for an Armenian newspaper and delivering dominoes at night to become eligible for University of California, where he earned his undergraduate degree and a postdoctoral fellowship in neuroscience. He started a lab at Scripps Research in San Diego with a grant from the National Institute of Health, discovered the way humans sense touch, and in 2021 won the Nobel fucking Prize. But with the Trump administration slashing spending on science, Dr. Pataputian's federal grant to develop new approaches to treating pain has been frozen. In late February, he posted on Blue Sky that such cuts would damage biomedical research and prompt an exodus of talent from the United States. Within hours, he had an email from China offering to move his lab to any city, any university he wants, he said, with a guarantee of funding for the next 20 years. You know what I say? That's victory, once again, for America. Good riddance, sir. We don't want no woke and gay-ass science. We don't want no woke, libtard, DEICRT, gay science. Yeah, go to China. God damn, dude. Holy shit.